Hey, good afternoon. This is Clay with Clay's AC and Auto Repair and Clay Motion here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If this video is helpful, please like, send me nice comments, but most of all, subscribe, click the notification box, and share my videos. If you want to reach out to me, you can get me on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook. I'll certainly try to answer your questions and do what I can for you, free of charge. Lord's blessed me with the gift. So what we're going to do today is we're going to remove a rear differential out of a 2008 Acura MDX. This procedure is going to be the same for the RDX because it runs under the same platform with 3.7 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder. I believe the RDX actually has a 4-cylinder as well, but the rear differentials are identical because the rear differential that I've got is out of less than 100,000 mile RDX. Anyways, what happened here is this woman took very good care of her vehicle. I did a Carfax on this vehicle. It's been at the dealership several times just for general maintenance related stuff. I mean, with any Honda, and yes, this is a Honda, even though it's Acura, it's still like the Cadillac of Hondas. They don't normally break. This rear differential was actually very inexpensive, 250 bucks. That's because they don't go bad. So in this situation, they let the fluid drain out of it, and I believe the pinion's bad, but we're gonna give it a little check and just see what we got. Make sure I'm right. Oh, wait, it's not supposed to do that. Obviously, I already knew that. So we started by removing our battery cable, we put it in gear, put it in neutral, so we could spin the drive shaft, take our bolts out. We're using pneumatic bolts, to take this out, so it's okay that it spins for us. With you might have to put it in neutral, put it in park, put it in neutral, put it in park, spin the drive shaft to an angle that you're able to get it out at. I put mine right here, so I was able to get my torque in there and take the 14mm bolt out. So I got to do that with all four. So we just took a hammer and some smoke and popped the hammer with the pry bar in there, and then popped that away from there to break the rust free. Smoke's not necessary, I'm just saying. Okay, you don't necessarily have to go in our order, but we took our 22mm lug nuts off. As you can tell, this has got brand new brake rotors on it, brand new pads, so we don't have to mess with none of that stuff. So next, we're going to remove our upper ball joint nut that's right there. You can see it right here. It's 19mm. We take a cotter pin out, pull that out. Then we're going to remove 4 nuts that hold these on right here. I don't know what there are yet, but I'll let you know here in a second. I feel like about 15 to 17. And we did that to both sides with the ball joint. Now we're going to take 4 17mm nuts out right here, and that's how you get behind that one with the line there. Now that we got them loose, we're going to go ahead and pop the clips off the brake lines because it's steel up here and it's rubber back here, and we want that to be able to pivot on there. Now we used an air hammer and torches and heated up that seat to be able to push the ball joint out of there. But the reason that we didn't take off the lower control arms is because these bolts seize up inside the lower control arm portion. So these ones we couldn't get out, and we figured it was easier to replace the upper control arm there than it would be to replace this. But we think we got it, but we used heat and we used the air hammer with a flat spot on it, try not to ruin it. Okay, so we took out the 14mm right here. There was 4 of them, and then the rear bolts, we're loosening them. What size are them, Jeff?
19.
And we loosened these are 19s. We're hoping that now that we've got our upper control arms off, that when we start to drop this down, or we can push it up further when we take the bushings off of here, we'll be able to get it out. You notice it's wet, so we sprayed it down with PB Blaster a couple hours before we started working on it to loosen up the bolts a little bit. And we've got our axles pushed out, and we just did that with the pry bar They're not all the way out yet, but we're thinking that we can move it and finagle it to get them out. So to get our axle the rest of the way out, we're thinking that we pull this axle all the way out, then that allows us to move the rear differential over. We loosened up this 19 millimeter. We couldn't get that one loosened up over there yet, but we didn't really try all that much to be able to have the axles pull out the rest of the way that we needed. And we soaked it with PB Blaster, if I didn't already say that. And then that allowed that axle to come out. So once we got the axles popped out of their holders after we loosened up the 19 millimeter bolt there, so that would allow the thing to pivot. Now we've got our drive shaft in the way, but we're gonna pop our exhaust in the way. We're gonna pop our exhaust down a little bit, so we're gonna let it hang a little bit. Probably put some support underneath that because it goes single to duals. And then we should be able to lower down our differential and weave it out between there. So now once you lowered it down, you got to get the electrical connectors loose. Most of them are squeeze tabs, and then you'll be able to wiggle them. If they don't come right off, just squeeze the tab, push it forward, and then pull it back. That allows the tab to pop up on there and release. So when we took these bolts out, this whole bushing slid out of here. We're pretty certain that it's not supposed to do that. I'm gonna call up Acura and find out. Looks like this one had been replaced, so we're gonna check that out. But basically, to finish up here, what we had is we had a vacuum, we had a vent tube. We had a 10 millimeter ground bolt on here somewhere, right there. And then we had the electrical connections that needed to come out of the hoops. We unplugged all of them. I believe there was a total of 3 or 4. Push forward, pull back. You'll get them snapped off of there. Be pretty easy. Got her out. Gonna throw the other one in there. If this video was helpful, please subscribe, click the notification box, share my videos, send me your nice comments. I greatly appreciate all you guys, and I greatly appreciate your comments. Remember, you can't break what's already broken, and you can't fix it if you don't try. So, God bless, have a great day. Okay, now for reinstallation, make sure that you tighten up your put on your 3 connectors up on the top, put on your ground wire, and put on your vent tube. Once you got it up installed, that was about the height that I had mine to install all them things. I had it a little bit lower for the electrical connections, but once I got it up for the vent tube, that was the last thing I had. Also, loosen up your drain plugs. There's one up inside there. Sorry, actually it's right up in there, and how you loosen that is through that hole there. But I think loosening it up before you reinstall it, it's probably going to save you a little bit of grief, you know, with the extension and having to move the spare tire and stuff like that. So I loosened mine up so I could fill it with a hose and the whatever lube it takes, which I'm going to find that out. And we're going to reinstall it. We're going to reinstall the passenger side axle before we install the driver side axle, because the driver side axle is the one that we use to turn the bolt to be able to get it to swing out of the way. So when I went to put that in there, what I did was I lined it up and I got the axle about halfway. You can see that my collar's not on there anymore, and you can tell that from that end is totally in there. And then I came to the driver's side and I just wiggled it up in there, and it popped in, and I know it's all the way inside there because the metal part is pushed up against the rear differential. Probably pretty critical stuff that you have your drive shafts at least lined up, if not into position, before you start putting on your front mounts. And yes, you'll notice I had not put these front mounts in prior to putting the drive shafts on. I did that for maneuverability. Now I'm going to install that. And just as a little tip here, when you install these, this is the inside ledge, this is the outside ledge. You can, oops, I have that backwards, sorry. This is the outside, this is the inside ledge, this is the outside ledge. And you can put the screw up in there and just screw it in a little bit, the bolt, and then hang this on there, click it into space. The differential will go down inside this cup right here, and then you can tighten up the 2 bolts. Okay, so now we've got a jack underneath the rear diff, and we're going to go, or the outside control arm here. Just wanted to make sure you don't get that between your bolt studs like I did. I took a pry bar, pried that back, was able to push it out of the way with my arm there, and now I'm just going to have to move it forward a little bit, and I'm probably just going to do that by hand and get it to go into the slots here once I get my axle somewhat up in there a little bit squarer. You're probably going to want an assistant to give you a hand, and they're going to put their top of their hand on there and just rock that. So then that'll allow that axle to pop up near its spot. You're probably not going to get it to pop all the way in until we go to put the upper ball joint on here. But I think them little tips will give you some hands on how to get this back up into position. Okay, to get our 4 bolts lined back up, we took a ratchet strap, ran it from there to there. Quite simply just pulled it and pushed it in, put our bolts on. So if you were like us and ended up hammering on the tip of there, you need to take a die grinder and clean up that mushroom. Make sure your nut fits on there before you put it down. And then we're going to take a big pry bar and we're going to level it out like you can see Jeff doing right there. And then he's going to drop it in. Now we're going to make sure that the center comes through there square, and then that way we can get it squared up. We're going to need both of us to do it, so we're going to do that, and then we'll hammer the top. We're going to try not to, because this fitting goes into that bushing right there, we don't want to gnarl that up because it won't go down in there square. So you need to make sure it's square before you put it down there and you try to drive it in. But you are going to have to drive it in a little bit. Sometimes helps to put a jack up underneath here to be going to get that squared up, and pushes that suspension up in the air and helps you get that aligned easier. So we pretty much got it all reinstalled. We're going to wait for this bushing to come in to get that. We ended up ruining our control arm, so don't be like us down here at the shop. So we're going to get a new one of them. We're draining out the diff fluid. Like I said, we wanted to make sure that we have the right fluid in there. We got everything connected other than that upper control arm on this side, which we broke. So that's pretty much it. Got the drive shaft hooked up our exhaust. You know, it was a pretty straightforward job. I don't really think too many people at home would have too much trouble with it. You know, if you notice things like these bushings that are bad, this is more than likely one of the culprits for this rear differential going bad, was this bushing. So it allowed that rear differential to pinionate like that, and probably ruined the front pinion front pinion on this, and that's what was definitely the problem with this rear differential. But we also believe that the differential fluid was changed. It could have been changed incorrectly, and not the right amount added, so forth and so on. So we're not sure if it was this or that, but you know, when you're fixing anything, it's good to at least have an idea of what it was. I kind of feel like it was probably this, and probably a culmination of the two. This being bad, it's probably been bad for quite a while, and they just didn't notice it, but it would have put a small amount of vibration. I doubt it would have clunked it all, because there's still pretty heavy amounts of rubber right there, but you still should have felt that rear diff lock in and kind of do that. So we'll see. Hopefully the video was helpful. Remember, you can't break what's already broken. Don't be the next to them, be the first to you. If anyone else can do it, you can do it too. Please subscribe, click the notification box, check me out on the YouTube there, get a message to me on Clay's AC and Auto Repair. God bless you guys, have a great day.